Let's move on to this story then. The Mathonsi community in KwaZulu-Natal, forcibly removed during apartheid, will make their way for sugarcane plantations and mills, or did so, will finally receive title deeds to their restored land today. The land claim, first lodged in 1998 under the Restitution of Land Rights Act by the late Inkosi Thanduzulu Edward Mathonsi, represents 179 households and nearly 600 beneficiaries. To date, over 2,800 hectares have been returned in a phased resettlement.
So right now we are here at the Mathonsi community. Now this is where we understand that title deeds are going to be handed out to 179 households. Now this goes way back when they were forcefully removed from the land during the apartheid era. And we understand that they've lost that particular land and they had been claiming to get it back from 1998. So today is quite a historic event for these people who are going to be receiving these title deeds. We understand the reason why they were actually forcefully removed here is because of a sugarcane plantation which had expanded. But it's quite an interesting conversation, and that is why I'm going to bring in now one of the farmers, Mark Dunlop. Thank you so much for taking time to speak to us. Before we get on to your story, you are going to be donating a piece of your land. But if we may start here, the issue of land is currently a very controversial subject, even internationally, and I'm wondering, what does this mean in terms of redress around issues concerning land expropriation here in South Africa?
Yeah, I think it's been a big misconception. I don't think anybody's ever been forced off their land at all. There's been a willing seller, willing buyer situation. The department goes through with a fine-tooth comb with every single claim that's put out there. And believe me, there's no stone unturned. So if anyone tells you that the communities or the land reform are kicking people off their land without compensation, is definitely not true. In fact, they handsomely pay the farmers a lot more than they're worth. I can tell you that for free.
And then also, when we look at what is happening now, and you've given out a very interesting response saying that nobody was actually forced out, but then there would be reports which actually contradict that. Then what is your take on that particular subject?
Well, I haven't seen it anywhere as far as I'm concerned in the sugar industry. Maybe there are certain issues that have arisen over the years, but I haven't seen it at all. My father came here in 1942 and lived amongst the Mathonsi family, and he grew up here, developing land. He bought some land here next to the Mathonsis. He lived amongst them all his life. When I eventually arrived here in 1986 to join my dad, we bought a farm, a portion of a farm that belonged to the old Tongaat Sugar Company. And I had some employees of mine that were living here many, many years ago on the hills of here. And they were tenure, they were just working here and getting on with their lives. And they were removed and put here into the Mathonsi area. So I was always under the impression that there had been people that were dispossessed here. And that happened before probably the 1920s, 1930s. And they were developing sugar in this area. So I always knew in the back of my mind, as I developed these areas, I worked very closely with the Mathonsi families and the Inkosi. My dad was there since 1946. You work it out till now. So when the claims came about, I wasn't at all, there was no anxiety in it, because I knew at some stage something had to happen. So I worked with the community and with the land reform to say, guys, let's have a good look at all the land around here, and there'll be willing sellers, willing buyers. Let's sit together and see how we can get some common ground, and we did.